Hey folks, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and this is the Sanrenmu 9103. I did the unboxing for this at the beginning of summer, end of spring, at least for Canadian springtime when that comes, a little bit later than you guys in the US. And I thought I'd reviewed this already, but I just noticed a couple days ago when I was going through my comments that in the held for review section, someone commented on this knife, and so I went to look up the video because I was going to send them the link to the video, and no, I've not reviewed it yet. And too bad, because this thing has got a lot going for it. So if you're interested in full size but thin and light folding knives, it is a slip joint, sort of. It's not a locking knife, but you have to push a fair bit to close it, and it's got a strong thing back there. It's got a back spring pressure, just like a lot of lockback knives have. It's got the back spring pressure to hold it open, and you can hear the click when it gets there. It wants to hold it open. But I'm digressing. That's part of the review. If you're interested in a knife like this, stick around. The full review's coming right now. Beep. Okay, let's get started. One of the first things I always do is a size comparison. Oop, knocking the knife around. So there's the Ontario Rat 1. And if we put this knife beside it, line up those pivot pins fairly well, you can see it's definitely a smaller knife. But if you take a look at this, you line up the sharpness choils there, and you've got a knife that's just a little bit shorter than the Ontario Rat. Now, the Ontario Rat has a very comfortable handle for doing hard work for a long time. That's not the purpose for this knife. This is sort of a budget gentleman's knife kind of deal. Definitely budget, because this thing's not much money at all. $15.92 US from AliExpress. And Americans, people in the EU, people in the UK, you get free shipping, but here in Canada, we have to pay shipping. From AliExpress to Canada, it's $21.30 Canadian shekels plus $7 shipping, so less than $28.50 for this knife, which I think is still a good deal. And it's a knife that will have no problem getting past customs because it's not a locking knife. And also, it's got thumb studs. Even locking folders with thumb studs usually get through. At least in my experience, they come through 99% of the time. So what we got here is an 8CR13 MOV stainless steel. Some sites I've seen, and I think even the AliExpress says it's 8CR14, but on the knife itself, it says 8CR13. Date code is up there. This guy was made just in the 5th month of this year. Model 9301, and on this side, you've got the Sanrenmu characters. I think this was not made for the Western market. The ones for the Western market, they're using the new Sanrenmu logo here instead of the characters there. So what we got is a straight back blade, sometimes called a standard blade. We've got a decent belly, actually a very nice point there, tip that is, not too thin, so it's got some strength behind it. And then you've got a longer straight section for cutting with, full flat grind, very nice sharpness choil. Thumb stud is only on the right side. Yes, this is a right-hand model. It's not left-hand at all. That doesn't stop me from using it with my left hand. And, I can close it with my left hand, no problem, if I'm careful. This is not a knife that you're going to want to do like speed opening with because, that's not the kind of knife it is. It's got a nice look, if you ask me. 3CR13 stainless steel, 53, 54 on the Rockwell hardness scale when you temper it for blades. But this 8CR13 is around 58 Rockwell hardness. Quite good. The blade shape means it cuts very well for just about anything that you want to do. It slices well. It's good for detail work. Certainly can take your apple apart for your lunch. And it's got a nice gentleman's folder look to it. You can see that you've got 2 tones of metal in here. Let's bring it nice and close and let you see that. There's a ring, detent ring, not detent, pivot ring, pivot screw ring on both sides. And there's the screw to tighten or loosen the pivot and possibly take the knife out. But I wouldn't take the knife out of there unless you absolutely have to, because the tension on this back spring will make it challenging to put enough pressure on the tang of the blade that way while aligning the hole with the pivot hole. So I don't like to take the knife blade out anyways. You can barely see in there. I did when I used my eye. I don't know if I can get my camera to see that there's very thin phosphor bronze washers in there. Sanrenmu very often does very thin phosphor bronze and very thin Teflon, one of those on each side. And yeah, it's very smooth without any blade play. The rest of the knife's a little bit different though. Back here, we've got brass pins. Those pins are a more yellow, a goldy kind of color than the backspacer is. This is a copper color. I'm thinking this is probably a copper alloy and not just copper, because if it was just copper, it couldn't do this job. It just couldn't. It'd be way too soft. You also notice back here, there's a lanyard hole. Oh, by the way, I don't mind at all that it's pinned together, because screws, since this is probably a copper alloy, it might be strong enough for this job, but I think taking it apart several times, you might start to strip out whatever threads where the screws go in. It's good this way. I don't mind it at all. You don't have to take this kind of knife apart because it's really hard to find a reason to take it apart. You can still get a Q-tip in here very easily, a cotton swab, if you will, for those people in other countries. Yeah, Q-tip is a brand name, kind of like saying Xerox or Hoover. In different countries, we use, brand names when we really mean something like photocopy or vacuum cleaner. We've got something better than just a simple parallel lines here for the handle. It actually slowly gets wider here than it is here, and that helps give it a look that this thing is, moving forward. It gives it a little extra sleekness, which I like quite a lot. And in here, there's a bit of another pin, and I believe that pin is acting as a stop pin that engages with the tang of the blade right there. So when you close it, that's what stops the cutting edge from hitting the rest of the material. Pocket clip is right side only. It's a pocket clip that's made just for this knife. I think it looks quite good. It's so reflective. It is really hard to make a video using lights and metal that's this reflective, but I'm doing my best. There you go. You can see how that pocket clip will work. And now let's show you what it's like in my stand-in. Oops. I was stepping on it at the same time in my stand-in pair of pants, which is slowly deteriorating here. But I can always move over a little bit. It catches over there. Every single time I carried this in a pair of jeans, it caught over there quite well. Now, when I was wearing it in lighter, like swimming trunk kind of shorts, you had to be more careful to make the pocket edge taut before you could put it in. But that's fine. It is a very good summer carry knife because it is so thin and so light. It's not going to bog down your light shorts, which I really like. Or you can take the pocket clip off if you want to and put it in a breast pocket on a business jacket, or a sport jacket, whatever you want. And it has a good look to it. I wish they would have also put this brushed steel look on this, but that would have made it a little bit harder for them to bend all these little bends in the die without, scratching up this brush surface. So it's not bad. It works well. You got a little bit of the knife sticking out of the pocket, but doesn't look bad at all if you ask me. This is the 9301, and it has a couple siblings now. You've got the 9305 and the 9306, two different models, but those two models come in satin like this, with this brass or bronze or copper alloy, not brass or bronze, but brass, with the same kind of copper alloy in the back spring and the screws, but you got a different shape, and you can also get it in black. And there's one model that even has a bottle opener on the back, which would be a really good summer carry because, opening, a drink in the summertime and having a small light knife with you that's functional and works really well. No problem with that. thumb stud is easy to engage. I like that they put those steps on there, like it's very common. It makes the thumb get in there very easily. Little cutaway for access for it. It's a nice knife. You want to know the specs? Yeah, you guys are hungry for the specs. So here we go. While I'm talking about the specs, that little measuring tape will be on the screen. 66 grams for this, 2.3 ounces. Not bad at all. The sharpness of the edge from the factory, 125 best. That's excellent. So they sharpened it quite sharp. The grind angles weren't the best, but it's not terrible, but we'll get to that in a second. The lengths now, the cutting edge length, 7.79 centimeters, 3.14 inches. Blade length, so tip of the blade to the closest spot on the handle, 8.53 centimeters, which is 3.36 inches. The thickness of the tang of the blade, so here on the ricasso, the full thickness right here, 2.05 millimeters, and that's 80.5 thousandths of an inch, 0.0805, or 5/64ths of an inch thick right there. The blade depth, like I say, I measure it about where my thumbnails are, about an inch up from the sharpness choil, usually about a little over 2 centimeters up. 1.58 centimeters, 0.621 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind at that same spot, because I use this spot because that's where you do most of your cutting, right about there. That is 0.45 millimeters thick, which is 17.5 thousandths of an inch. So very, very good. I like that. The grind angles. I don't remember exactly which side was which. I think I do remember now. This side was 16.8 degrees to sharpen it, but it varies as you go along the knife. But at that spot, that's what it was. At the same spot on the other side, 21.5 degrees. And I've many times spoken about why that is. And I've got a web page, actually a spreadsheet, a Google spreadsheet that records all these measurements for all of the knives that I've been reviewing, almost all of them in 2020. So there's a lot of, and actually 2019, there's some on there too. So you can take a look and see which brands do terrible jobs with the angles of sharpening. And I also record the cutting edge sharpness, that best number. And I've got videos about that as well if you're curious. I'll put links down below for all that stuff. I always have the links under every video for the grinding angles, so you can get to that spreadsheet. Talking about the handle now, the handle length, and I measured it this way. That is 11.05 centimeters, 4.35 inches. So full-size handle, easy to grab, easy to hold, and it's not too thin or anything. The grip area, it's a roughly 11 centimeters, about 4.25 inches. The handle thickness, not counting where the screws come out or where the pins come out, just the thickness of the main part of the body where you grab your hands, 5.4 millimeters, 0.212 of an inch. So it's nice and thin, a fifth of an inch, basically, just over a fifth of an inch. The handle depth, that's this measurement, it's widest right here, 1.89 centimeters, 0.744, so 3/4 of an inch roughly. And when the knife is closed, actually this spot is a tiny bit bigger than that. And this spot is 2.05 centimeters, 0.81 of an inch. So from 0.74 to 0.81, very close to looking like straight lines pretty much. Total length of this knife when the blade is deployed, tip to the very end, 19.63 centimeters, 7.73 of an inch. So 7 3/4 inches basically. Unique features. Well, I really like this copper alloy that's in here. That gives it a really nice look. I do like that it's pinned. This knife is going to last for years and years and years. Whereas if it was screws and you took it apart and put it back together, I think those screws would wear out over time, more so than most other folders. I like this ring. That looks nice. Pocket clip, yeah, it's okay. It's not super nice, but it's not terrible. It's an okay pocket clip in my estimation. Comfortable in the hand, but not, this isn't designed for extended use. You know, cutting apart one cardboard box, sure. Cutting up an apple, you know, doing some food prep on a picnic, that's what this knife is for. It is a not a locking knife. It's, like I said, it's got the big back spring back here, just like back lock knives have, but it doesn't lock in place. It just puts pressure on it. So it behaves like a detent to keep the knife closed, like it wants to stay open or closed. When it's closed, See, it wants to stay closed. So that's very good. It's not going to open up in the pocket. It's thin. I like how thin it is, how light it is, and yet the blade is plenty strong enough for most tasks. You know, you're not going to baton a piece of oak with this. You know, that's not going to happen. But you could easily use this knife for whittling softwoods. No problem at all. The design, in my estimation, is awesome. I like the color combo. I like the shape. I like how effective the blade is. Very useful, comfortable in hand. You know, any grip you want is going to work. Not that you're going to use very many different grips. I mentioned the pivot rings, the lanyard holes, very well done. It doesn't get in the way, and it paracord through here is not going to bulk too high because it's just that one thinner piece. And guess what? It cuts well, but I've already said that. The cons. Some people are going to prefer screws over pins. I know that. There's no answer for that. It's pins. It's only right hand. Now, I think they could have done this same thing, just done the same cutout here and put a stud on the left side as well. You can open it, hold it in your left hand and take your index finger from your right, open it up and then use it. This isn't a speed opening kind of knife anyways, so it's not really all that bad for left-handed people, but I grew up left-handed as well. So I would have preferred the left-hand option, and that's pretty much the only con I have. So what do you think of this knife? Please comment down below if you're planning on getting one. I just want to see what kind of response there is on this. I do have links down below, so hopefully this will help some people, find a knife that is really cool. I have over 100 reviews on Sanrenmu knives. They are my de facto first choice for budget knives of good quality. I know I'm repeating myself. For the most part, Sanrenmu is just killing it. And now that they're making a lot of knives specifically for the Western market, that's a good thing too. So there you go, the 9103, a very nice, either budget business knife, budget gentleman's knife, or a light summertime carry knife. I know that summer is mostly over in North America, but hey, a lot of countries have seasons where you're wearing shorts different times of year. If there's any details that you want to know that you think I forgot to mention, just ask me down below and I'll try to get those answered. Thank you so much for watching this review. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.